Hey there, I'm Otaku Gaming HD, and you might notice that my camera quality is a bit better than the last couple videos and before. I finally have a decent camera, and it's a bit better with motion, which is nice. But yeah, this video I am actually looking forward to doing. I'm looking forward to doing every video. Sorry if there's a bit bobbing. Not the best setup, but you can probably read the posters, and I'm going to be talking about a series of films that I don't think, many people may know about, and that is the Angel series, which went from 1983 to 1993. Technically, I'll get to that in a second. As you can see in the thumbnail, there's Angel from 1983, Avenging Angel, the second one, from 85, Angel 3, the final chapter, which isn't the final one, from 88, and Angel 4 Undercover. I will be changing my lights depending on my mood of each of the films, but starting off with Angel. This is a story of a young girl in high school who, yes, she's 15. The actress playing her, Donna Wilkes, was 24, which I do think in this instance, casting an older actress works better, because I wouldn't really want them having a 15-year-old actress around like all these actual like prostitutes and all that. But she plays Molly, otherwise known as Angel. Molly is a grade A student. She's doing great in school, and at night, in order to make money, she is a prostitute. The film doesn't get super exploitative with that, which I am glad that they didn't. She is not naked. I don't think the character is naked in any of the films, actually. But there is nudity. Don't get me wrong, there is nudity. But I do think they focused on the right things with this character. But yeah, Donna Wilkes did a good job. I don't know much of other things that she's been in, but I do think that she did the role admirably. Cliff Gorman as Lieutenant Andrews, I thought he was a bit wooden. He's alright in certain parts, but I do think that he is a bit too much hard-edged cop, where he shows little to no feelings. I do think that I really liked Susan Tyrrell as it says Mosler. That's not her character's name. Solly, who is basically one of Molly / Angel's guardians. She, who would have thought a lesbian character in an 80s movie would be like a hilarious character for me that I actually enjoy watching. That she doesn't have to tell you she's a lesbian. It's kind of easy to tell from looking at her that she's a lesbian. No offense to other lesbians, but you know what I mean. She also has kind of a father figure named May, who is wearing drag throughout the film, but he's very funny too. This film is very interesting as a start to the series, and just in general. It's kind of a crime horror thriller with little bits of comedy, or little bits of like these characters that are very like out there. And I get what this film was trying to do. It was trying to bring some recognition to the crazy shit that happens on Hollywood Boulevard, especially in the 80s. Maybe it's still going on, but back then there was also the whole prostitution thing. Might still be a thing, probably not as bad, but I do think that the story, which was about this girl basically doing what she had to, in order to get by, and I thought that was an interesting story to tackle. And there were certain scenes where when her life as a prostitute does collide with her life as a schoolgirl, like there were scenes that actually like made me feel something for this character. I think this is a very interesting character, and I'm glad that this kind of film could get sequels. Not all of them are great, but I'll get to that. Donna Wilkes 100% becomes this character. I I do think that this is a great character for her. I've never seen her in anything else as far as I know. But she plays the innocence very well, and she plays the parts where she has to be this young girl who had to grow up way too fast because of certain things I'm not going to spoil. But there are certain things that seem a bit off and then get explained later. But yeah, the film is about these prostitutes on Hollywood Boulevard who are being basically killed off one by this crazy killer. And it's nothing super new, but the way the film goes about it and the way that you learn about this character, the killer, and the way that he has little to no dialogue in the film, I think also really helps. If they try to make us like feel bad for the killer, I wouldn't have been too into that. But yeah, the film definitely has a tone, and it sticks to it. It's a very serious tone for most of it. It has these little bits in the first half that are a bit comedic, but it's done in a way where it doesn't feel like it cuts into the tone. It more complements it, and is used to alleviate a bit of stress, because the scene where Angel ends up finding the first one of her friends that's been killed is actually pretty horrifying. The way she finds her, the way the way that Molly / Angel reacts is heartbreaking, and you can really tell that she cares about these girls, even though she knows that they're taking a risk of being prostitutes. But it's still a very interesting story, and the film kept at the pace very well. I don't think it ever really got boring. I didn't feel like there were any scenes really that felt like they were filler, and I like that in a movie, because there are a lot of movies like this from the 80s and 70s and all that feel so hampered by the runtime and the plot and filler. It seems like French Connection. I know a lot of people love that movie. I know that's like a all-time great. Gene Hackman, frickin' the guy from Jaws, I can't think of his name right now, but like that's like an all-time great. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think the acting's that good. I don't think the action is good. I think it ends horribly, but this film is more up my alley. I really liked this one. On Letterboxd, I gave it a 9 out of 10, which means for me pretty great. I did find this pretty great. I liked how it ended. I thought it was very a very good ending to the story. And I'm trying to think if I had any complaints. There are points where Donna Wilkes is a bit but I don't think it's so many times that it would change my opinion. I still think she did a great job for most of it. I think that she played the switch from her being just a normal high school girl to being a prostitute very well, and I think that shows like her versatility as an actress. I mean, I hope to see other things she's been in and see if she's nearly as good as she was in this. But now we're getting to Avenging Angel from 85, and there. Well, let me... There you go. Avenging Angel from 1985. I still like this one. Don't worry. These movies aren't amazingly rated, by the way. They aren't. For the most part, the first one is well liked, and the second, third, and fourth are written off as crap, which I do not agree with. I saw the first two on Tubi, I saw the third one on some random site, and the fourth one on some random site, because the fourth one isn't available to stream anywhere. It was like a TV movie. But yeah, instead of Donna Wilkes in the second film, we have Betsy Russell, who many people, if you look her up, you may remember her from the Saw films. I forgot which one exactly she came in on. I'm pretty sure it was Saw 4. If it wasn't Saw 4, it was Saw 5. She was John Kramer's wife, Jill, I think, who ends up continuing Jigsaw's legacy. I wasn't big on her in those films. I thought that the whole her and Costas Mandylor's plot, I didn't really care for that part of the Saw series. Even though I enjoy the series as a whole for the most part, I didn't get into that storyline. But here, she's alright. She's not as good as Donna Wilkes, no. But she does make the role her own in certain aspects. The film takes place 4 years later, which 4 years later, after being 15, apparently means you're graduating college, so she must be really fucking smart. But that's Molly is graduating college. She's trying to become a lawyer, and the lieutenant from the first film has become her guardian, which is cool. And he's a very loving guardian. And later there is a thing with the mob. The mob is after this police officer who... It's kind of hard to explain. The plot does get a bit muddled in this whole thing. But it's a thing with the mob. The lieutenant gets basically to shoot out with the mobsters, and he ends up dying. Angel finds out, and she comes back to LA from New York to avenge her guardian's death. It's an interesting way for the film to go, going from the first film being kind of a crime drama with little bits of action in it to a straight up action thriller. It's not like, this film isn't like action every 5 minutes. It's not. But it's kind of hard to generalize what the film is. I guess you'd say more of a crime thriller. But Betsy Russell plays the role well. She doesn't look too much like Donna Wilkes, but she plays the role well. I understand her casting. I don't think it's terrible casting or anything, but it was nice to see Roy Calhoun return as Kit Carson, who is in a mental hospital. He was like put there against his will, which I felt bad for him. I did like him in the first film, and I'm glad that they gave him a bigger part. Solly's back, not for long. She does get to shoot a bit, which is cool, but she's not in a ton of the movie. Maybe a little less than the first. But yeah, the film is basically just Angel trying to chase down these mobsters, try to get revenge for the death of her guardian, and it was fun. It's not as good as the first film or the third film, in my opinion, but it does do its own thing, and it does its own thing well. That's what I was looking for. It doesn't have to be exactly like the first film, but I did like it. There's some pretty decently well done action. There's a shootout at the end that's actually pretty well done. I'm trying to think of what else this director's done, but I didn't remember seeing any action films. But the action's well done here, and that does help. If the action was horribly done, it would have hampered it a bit, because that seems to be what it was going for. But yeah, there's the shootout near the beginning with the mob. But yeah, this is a good film. It's a good sequel. It's not a perfect sequel, no. But it's a sequel. It's a sequel that works, and it does its own thing. And while Betsy Russell does have more scenes where she doesn't exactly fit the whole thing that she's trying to do with the character. There are certain scenes that don't fit, and there's certain bits of comedy that don't exactly hit like in the first one. I heard a lot of people had problems with Rory Calhoun and his portrayal of the character in this film, but I didn't. But yeah, this is a fun sequel, and that I'm trying to think of other things I would say. The score was a bit weird. The score, I forgot who did the score. It was somebody. I think it was Christopher Young. The score in the first movie was really good, from Craig Safan, who did Remo Williams, which I love that score. But the score from the second by Christopher Young was a bit eh. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever heard, but it didn't fit with certain scenes. I didn't like the really quirky thing it did, but yeah, other than that, it's a good sequel. And now I'm gonna go back to this color because talking about Angel 3, the final chapter from 1988. Now, instead of Donna Wilkes and Betsy Russell, we now have Mitzi Capture, who I have never seen before. She's apparently in some TV show from the 80s I've never heard of or seen, but I liked her quite a bit more than Betsy Russell. This film on Letterboxd has the same rating as Avenging Angel. I do think it's better. Also, Mitzi Capture is really hot. I will say that. But basically, Molly has become a freelance photographer in New York, and she finds a woman at an art show, and that woman turns out to be her mother. Her long-lost mother. And I guess that's a bit of a spoiler, but it's not like it. I'm gonna assume if you're watching this video up until this point, you have seen the films. I don't know, but it's not a big enough spoiler to put like a spoiler warning. But she finds out that that woman is her mom. She seems upset, but she also seems very subtle in what she's saying. She's not really giving up much. She's not really saying much to Molly. And then she later turns up dead. And Molly, basically, it's not so much like Avenging Angel. It's more, she's looking for her long-lost sister, who her mother had after basically leaving her alone in the story of the first film. And Molly has to become Angel once again to infiltrate a white slavery ring. Which these films, I'll give these films one thing, they are original between each other. The first film comments on prostitution on Hollywood Boulevard and the quirky characters you see there and the dangers of prostitution. Like if you go home with the wrong guy, you could end up dead. Second film is more about how the cops could be in on it, and corruption is a big thing, and since she was studying to be a law student or a lawyer, that seems to tie in very well. And in this film, it's fucking white slavery ring, and it's associated with porn. So I thought that was definitely a different take. This film goes for less of the crime drama thing of the first film and the action thriller of the second into more of a neo-noir kind of thing. The film is very, I won't say glacially paced. I will say it is deliberately slower paced than the first two. But it's done for a certain reason. The film is more setting up the ending, which the ending is pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome ending. So I think it's worth it. It is also the longest of the four films. But I do think it did a good enough job with that pace where it didn't get boring. But also, Mitzi Capture, she's really good in the film. She plays Angel well. She plays Molly well. I liked her attitude. I liked how she continued the whole attitude of Angel and Molly. There isn't a ton of action in this. It's mostly left up to the ending, which the ending warehouse shootout is pretty cool. It's well done enough. Maud Adams is the villain in this film. Like, I love Maud Adams. I loved her since Octopussy. I heard she's good in Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 Initiation. But yeah, it's a definitely an interesting sequel. I thought it was interesting to bring up the whole mother thing, like actually bring that into play, since in the first film it was kind of mentioned and then not much else came of it, so I was hoping that they'd bring it up. And I'm not exactly sure how much I can say about this. I definitely do recommend these first 3 films, not so much the 4th, but I'll get to that. Give me a second. But like, me not saying much on them doesn't mean that they're boring. That it just means that I'm a mumble mouth and I don't like writing scripts. And I think my channel, I want to more do kind of just like off the cuff. Like, I don't want to have to prepare a script. I don't feel like I want to spend that time on that. I definitely have my own look with the whole LED thing. But yeah, I just... The film is good. I'll just say that. The film is pretty great, in my opinion. I think it is neck and neck with the first Angel. It's definitely... I definitely think certain people won't be able to get into it because of the pace or because of the certain acting in certain parts, maybe. But I do think it's definitely an interesting time capsule into the 80s and how things used to be, especially prostitution-wise. There are also some really disturbing parts of the films that aren't overdone. They're done in a way that I feel works for the films, more so than against them. And yeah, it's Angel 3, the final chapter, is a pretty great entry in the series. And I will say one more thing. There is a poster in Spanky, the character that Molly ends up teaming up with, who apparently was on the street in the first 2 Angel movies. I don't remember this character. I think he was kind of made up because they couldn't get the actor that played Yo-Yo back. But there is a poster in his room for a film called Boarding School Girls, I think. Let me see. Reform School Girls. This director did a film called Reform School Girls, and there was a poster for it. I think that's interesting. I don't know. I think it's nice. And there was also a marquee that had Steel Dawn playing with Patrick Swayze. I have that movie. I haven't gotten to see that yet, where he has that badass sword. But yeah, I've been putting off talking about the 4th one. Yeah, I know this is blown out. Matches how I feel about this film. So, you go from the first film, Angel, which is a pretty great crime drama, horror, thriller, to the second one, which is a fun action thriller type of film, crime thriller, to the third one, which is kind of a neo-noir drama, to this 4th one, which, my first problem, it's a TV movie. That's not always a problem. Okay, that helps a little bit. Sorry. I don't hate TV movies. I've liked other TV movies. There are TV movies that I like. There's Blacktop with Kristen Davis, Lachlan Monroe, and Meatloaf. I like that film. There is there are countless Lifetime movies that I've enjoyed. Mad Mom, that was a Canadian one from Incendo. Time of Death was okay. The Bourne Identity from 1988, that's a great TV miniseries. That's possibly one of the best I've seen, and I've seen quite a few. The Titanic miniseries that came out, I think the year before James Cameron's Titanic, I actually prefer it because I like the actors more and I like the effects. I liked the more practical effects that they used, and I just felt it worked better. It felt better paced, that's for sure. The Odyssey miniseries with Armand Asante. There are many other TV movies that I would rather watch than this. This felt cheap. And what do I mean by cheap? I mean, some of these sets look like somebody who has never done even a play before made them. And it's just, oh God. And I feel, I'm not sure if I know why, but there was one problem. The film doesn't star, but they're in it, Patrick Kilpatrick and Roddy McDowall. If you don't know who they are, Patrick Kilpatrick has been in numerous action movies, horror movies. He was in Remo Williams. He was in Class of 1999, the sequel to Class of 1984. He's been in films. He's been in many films. He's a good actor. He's okay here. Roddy McDowall was in Fright Night, which is a pretty awesome vampire movie that I really like. He's been in a ton of other things, but that's what I know him from. I feel like the budget might have been spent on getting them. This film looks cheap. There is very flat lighting throughout. The lighting is very, very flat. The actors that they did get, oh my God, the fucking actress that played Molly. Like, she's not one of the worst things I've ever seen. Darlene Vogel. I don't know anything about her. She was so boring. Like, such a wet blanket. I could not stand to see her playing this character. She really... She doesn't feel like the character at all. She doesn't have the spunkiness. She doesn't have the wit. She doesn't have the strong comebacks. She's not at all the same character, it feels like. And really the only thing that kept me from giving this film a 1 was Shane Fraser as Piston Jones, this like rock star. Okay, he's a rock star. He heads a band called AK-47. Molly comes back to LA to visit a friend who is trying to date the singer, Piston Jones, from this band. And then she turns up dead. And I'm just gonna fucking spoil this movie because this movie does not deserve anybody's time. The whole movie, we're operating under the thought, oh, Piston Jones killed her. But throughout the entire movie, he's acting like a normal person, and I was expecting, oh, this movie's not going to try to be smart with a twist, is it? So he's basically acting nice, and then he has these little freakouts. But he also has this girlfriend named Jade, who is a real cunt. But you're not... I don't know if you're supposed to think that she's a killer, but it turns out later, it was pretty obvious. When you see Molly's friend get killed, you see him start to kill her with the guitar string, but then you hear her coughing, and then Jade says, "Look what you did, you killed her." And I was like, she killed her. She's fucking alive. She's coughing. What the fuck are you talking about? And then later it's like, oh no, Jade killed her. Wow, what a twist. If they had cut away sooner, maybe you could have cheated that twist in, but it doesn't fucking work when you literally lie to the audience by having her say, oh, she's dead. So Piston basically was urged into thinking that he killed her because Jade has killed other girls that he slept with before, and yeah, she gets. God, it was just such a boring Sid. Like, if this movie wasn't so generic, poorly made, poorly lit, and this director has made actual films. Richard Shankman, he has directed. He directed The Man from Earth and The Man from Earth Holocene. I have not seen those yet. I know that those are like dialogue films, like mostly people around a table talking, but they're about like that they're about a guy who supposedly has met God. Like, that's like an actually interesting concept. This film like blows any chance of having an interesting conclusion to the franchise. Probably because this was meant to be a pilot. It was meant to be a pilot for an Angel TV series. I'm glad it didn't get made. This sucked to watch. It was boring. This actress, like, even this poster. Let me show you this poster. Maybe that can focus. Whatever. Well, it says Angel 4 Undercover. On the left it says Executive by Day. On the right it says Hooker by Night. Another fucking lie. She does not wear that either outfit. She never holds a gun in the film. She never even looks at a gun in the film. There are no guns in this film. As far as I know, there were no guns. She is not an executive. She is a police photographer. She does not turn into a hooker anymore. She turns into a groupie to try to infiltrate the band. I hate false advertising like this that tricks you into it's a shitty poster too. It's trying to replicate what the first two films did with the posters, where it's like, oh, good girl, bad girl, that kind of thing, which is interesting, but here it just looks like a cheap Photoshop job because it was done in 1993. This film just is dirt cheap. It doesn't. When I say dirt cheap, I don't mean that all cheaply made, all low budget films are bad. This is under budget. This film, it feels like Roddy McDowall and Patrick Kilpatrick took most of the budget for their paychecks, and it just feels poorly made. It doesn't feel like anybody there wanted to make it. I'm guessing Richard Shankman like got better as he went along in his career, but yeah, this film is a massive piece of shit. I'm trying not to get overly into this, but yeah, it's a massive piece of shit. The character that she meets also was not in the earlier movies, but yeah, this film could have been an interesting look into the whole Angel character and like how she is in the 90s, like all these years later, how she's grown up, she's a different person. Well, she definitely does feel like a different person, but not the same character. But yeah, like, I wasn't expecting it to be good. I was expecting it to be not that great. It doesn't have good ratings online. It has better ratings than it deserves. Probably because there's a phony 5-star review saying the person hasn't seen the movie. But yeah. It has a 2.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. There are so many movies that are better than this that are rated lower. Amerigeddon was more fun than this. At least that had an interesting premise. Just not great execution. But yeah, there's not much else I can say. I like the first. I love the first film. I like the second one. I love the third one, and I hate this fourth one. I hope they never bring this character back because I think it will lose the edge that it had, and they will probably have the character played by an actual 15-year-old, which I think would be disgusting. But yeah, not much else I can say on the films. I hope people enjoyed the video. I hope y'all want to see me do more films, more videos like this on like movie series. I'm not sure if I'll keep doing that, but it's a thought. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and goodbye.